Hi, this is Erin, and I am back again with another video about my ancestry. So recently I have been going down one particular sliver of my ancestry, and it's so vast, the information that I have, that is taking a really long time. And so I'm documenting it with the videos and sharing it with the videos for various purposes. So I have stuff that I'm looking for in particular, which is leading me to do things in a certain way. And as I'm doing it, looking for something specific that I already know is there, but I just can't remember where it is. I'm coming across a lot of really interesting stuff. So I'm going to document from me down through the line. While I do this, I hover over the things and it shows me stuff, right? So I did this video already, and it took about a half an hour, and I noticed that the screencasting software that I was using wasn't showing these little pop-up boxes, and I noticed that it did when I used this kind. So I have to go back and actually do this a second time, because it defeats the purpose to not be able to have these pop up. I mean, it was still helpful, and it still was something that I could share, but the people that are watching it can't see when something is too long to be, like if the name is really long and it takes up more than just that space, it's cut off and you can't see the whole name. And so I just looked silly because I just kept hovering on them and the boxes weren't popping up. So here we go down through this line again. Anybody that's interested in ancestry would be fascinated by what I found in this particular spot. So, you know, it's worth watching if you're interested in anything unique and ancestral. Down through my grandma's line, and then down through this section, and then up and out here through Morehouse, and out. And there's a lot of things. So I'm going to focus on certain things for the purposes of the video. It doesn't mean that I don't think other things are important, and it doesn't mean that I'm not paying attention to those. I've already gone through this a couple of times before I've shared it on the video. And hold on just one moment. I'm going to go turn the heater off. Okay, so as I was saying, okay, so I went out through Morehouse and out this way and through here and down through here and out this way. And you can easily, if you've never done this before, get very, very lost and not be able to find your way back. I went through just a little bit of annoyance to get back here. Not really annoyance, but it's tedious. And out through there and out through here, and already there's stuff that looks interesting that I'd like to start looking into, right? I'm trying to get documented as much information as I can in a short period of time because it is really in-depth topic, and you know, more and more information it can be hard to find a lot of information. So I want to make sure that I document these because you never know, and it's best to kind of strike while the iron's hot, I suppose is the best way to put it. And yes, I like Forged in the Fire, but I haven't watched it for a long, long time. I don't even know if they still have it on. But, okay, so these names are all starting to look really interesting. But at the same time, I don't want to overlook these down here because just because there's no pictures doesn't mean anything. Like sometimes these down in here that don't even go off, well, these will. But like sometimes you'll hit it, the path will go cold. But the stuff there is really interesting. It's just nobody recorded it. Like, you know, druids and things like that. I mean, there's a lot of people that aren't recorded that had a lot of really cool stuff to look at. It can be a little bit, like, frustrating to not be able to see where some of these, you know, paths go. But when you do have one that you can follow, then you're like, yeah, we've got something to work with here. So this is what I mean. Like, it cuts off, and I was doing this the whole way through the last video, and I could see it, but I couldn't see until I watched the recording that it didn't record it, and this software seems to have done that. So I've come back to here. the one I paid for is the one that didn't do it. Anyway, it looked really nice, but I feel like it kind of defeated the purpose. Now, some of these aren't languages that I know. Like, I'm not French. I mean, well, I am French, obviously, but I'm not entirely French, but I don't speak French. And so a lot of these names, I don't know what they mean, so I want to look them up later. So if I do this, then I can have it documented for me, and you can see what the whole name is if you're interested in looking things up. So I think you're going to be really, really excited. Now, I don't know if you'll be excited, but I'm excited about what I found down this line a little bit further. It's really fascinating. And I do think anybody that is interested in any kind of history stuff like that would definitely be interested in it. Now, I'm also wondering, this says De Danan. I'm wondering if there's any connection. I don't know. I'm just wondering if there's any connection between that and the De Danan, like the Tuatha De Danan. I'm wondering if it has anything to do with that same origin. I don't know that it does, but it's possible. So, up through here. And this is where we start seeing a whole bunch of kings, and there's a lot of kings. And I had somebody say to me, I was being smart with somebody, and he was, there's somebody I know that's a little bit full of himself, and he said something to me I didn't like, and I said, I have royal blood, don't talk to me that way. And I was being smart, I really was. And he said, prove it. I just shook my head at him and walked away. This is quite a while ago, but, you know, people say, hold my beer, and that was what I said in the video yesterday, because it comes to mind, like, oh, prove it? Okay, gotcha. I knew, you know, but anyway. And it's not just royal blood, obviously. There's tons of people in my ancestry, but I find a lot of things that are interesting, like this. La Fée d'Avalon. La Fée d'Avalon. That's going to mean something mythological for certain, okay? And so anyway, I should have said to him, because we were at a vineyard, I should have said to him, hold my wine. That would have been appropriate. However, I think he would be, like, he just wouldn't even want to watch this. Anyway. And this, again, is just one line. There's another, Avalon. If you haven't watched my other videos and you're interested in any of this stuff, you really need to watch there's the Picts. And there's a lot of question about Pictish ancestry and, you know, what happened with those people. And there's a few Picts in here. So there's a lot here that I will definitely be looking into later that I don't have the time to really do right now if I want to get all the information that I can. Because, see, there's a lot of Welsh kind of working its way in here. But I have other lines that I found that I had no idea that I had. I mean, there's another princess. But I found I have king lines from Ireland and China. I didn't have any idea I had any Chinese in me. Israel, king lines from all of these different places, and I had no idea that I had those. I did know I had Scottish, I did know I had Spanish, I knew a bunch. I did not know that I had some of them I've found. There's a De Leon. I know I have a lot of De Leon in another part of the ancestry. So I'm not really surprised to see that at all. If you just wait just a second here, we're going to see some really cool... That's Welsh. You know, I don't know if you know anything about that, but there's just all sorts of things here. And De Leon, De Leon... De Leon, De Leon. I have no idea where that is, but it's another king. I'm going to say that's a Welsh queen. Not really sure. And just because I know I have a lot of royal ancestry does not mean I agree with everything that they did. That would be ridiculous. They lived in another time. So, but whether you agree with what they did or not, when you look back through history, and look, they had insurance salesmen. Right there. Morgan Le Fay. Morgana Pendragon. Now, I had no idea that you could even find that in your ancestry. I do know a girl that said that she found that she was related to King Arthur, or maybe related to King Arthur. So, I don't know what that name would be in all of this. I don't. But here there's this, and I had no idea that was there. I had no idea. And one reason why I find that to be extremely fascinating is because I have traced ancestry on another side of my family back to the Tuatha De Danann, which is the Fae race in Ireland, and it's also the Celtic gods. So like the sun god Lu from Ireland is a Tuatha De Danann. And that's part of my ancestry on record, and yet they say they're mythological beings. Which also gets into, I'm not really sure why, but she's listed here for like 4 generations. And so is someone else. So I'm not sure exactly. They may have been missing some information in between and filled the gaps. There's one area where I have an Egyptian lineage that's pharaohs, and another area where they, in a different part of the family line, they cut out all of the generations of the pharaohs and just wrote in there's like 430 years of Egyptian pharaohs here. I didn't know that. But like, if you have that in there and nobody knows to list it, or nobody knows what it is to list it, but I'm thinking maybe they were lacking. I'm thinking maybe they were lacking something, or maybe they're saying that she lived a really long time. I mean, you know, they say a lot of things about mythological beings, so I don't know. I don't know if, I mean, I think the history writers tend to tell us what they want us to think so that we feel disempowered. I mean, when people know where they come from, they have more of an ability to stand up for themselves, and they're less likely to be led off a cliff. That's why a lot of the cultures throughout history have been cut off from their, they try to cut them off from their culture so that they don't have any, you know, desire or ability to stand up to whoever it is that's deciding they're in charge. I can think of a few examples, but I don't think I really need to point them out. Okay, there's a De Leon de Avalon. So, like, there's something going on here that they don't tell us, and history is real. And this is a reputable site. I mean, this is the source everybody told me to look up because they didn't necessarily think I had my my information correct. They'd so discreetly suggest I go here in case I might be wrong. Okay. Well, all I've done is found more and more and more that just verifies what I already said. So there is Morgana again. So, you know, I'm not really sure what's going on there. Well, actually, it's more than 4, I guess. And there is a lot of inbreeding, so it doesn't surprise me to see them repeated, but to go on for generations like this, I'm thinking maybe they had a gap in their information between somebody and somebody. And that makes sense. There's another. See, like, I don't really exactly know what that's going to turn out to be by the time I'm done researching, but it's definitely an area where I really want to do some research. And then, even more, it's just king after king after king. Now see, I'm sure these are interesting, but, you know, I mean, there's going to be less information about them. And I can tell you that because I can click on the sidebar, which I'm not going to do because it tends to make this glitch while I'm recording, and I don't want to do that. But you can click and it'll bring up a sidebar over here to the right, and that will tell you more information about the people if it's available. And on some of them there's a whole lot of information, and on a lot of them there's just nothing. So you start going up through here. Some of them are listed as king and some of them are not, but there's quite a lot. And usually when there's this red thing here, it just means that maybe, like, one of the things that I found that does that is if they put the date in just the wrong format. So, and if you go in and you correct the date and the format of the date, it fixes that. So that could literally be just anything. It doesn't mean that the information is wrong. I mean, just look at this. I mean, it's amazing to be able to even find that kind of thing, because a lot of people, you know, I guess they're missing information about just even their more recent generations, and they can't find where they came from. And I think that's sad. But I also think a lot of people just have a couple of missing relatives between them and a lot of information that would help them to think of things a lot differently. I know even as much as I knew, I thought differently than most people, but the last few days, what I've found in my ancestry is like, whoa. It has definitely given even me a different perspective on some things. And not in a way like, oh, I was judging people. It's nothing like that. Just to be able to just see these things and not have them be like an abstract wonderment or, you know, whatever. Just king after king after king after king. And I mean, these are old. This is, look at 628 BC. And I'm sure I have a lot of ancestors that didn't get recorded, you know, but to be able to find that so many of them were, it's kind of humbling in a way, and at the same time I already feel like I was fairly humble. People get all uppity if you start trying to talk about this stuff sometimes, unless they're really just interested in these things. A lot of people get kind of bothered by it. It's like, don't be bothered by it. Go look up your own. You can find your own, and you probably got it too, but somebody taught you to think lowly of yourself, so you're not looking, you know? These people, they're like, oh, well, you know, the elites and this and that. Oh, don't get me going on that word elite. First of all, it doesn't mean what they think it means. But, oh, their ancestors and their bloodlines and their... You might have that and you just don't know. And I tell you what, the last few days has definitely given me a new perspective on that show. That show that they do with... They have people, like, find out about an ancestor, or you think you know who you are. I was pretty sure, and I did have a pretty good idea, and I had a lot of information there. Greece. I also found a Russian. But the thing is, like, there was so much more that I didn't know, and I'm really thankful to be able to find this information, because not everyone probably will. Troy. I mean, Trojan link to Judah. Oh, it's this one. Generations in Egypt, about 430 years. I didn't realize it was this one because I've been through so many in a short period of time. But so that's going to be a pharaonic line. And I don't think it's the same one that I looked at before, because these names were not familiar to me. So, you know, there's going to be pharaohs, most likely, in there. And somebody probably just didn't know what they were looking at. Or just didn't have it. And, you know, Egypt is a vast topic, so it may be they just didn't, that wasn't their area of wanting to go into that. I'll probably look into it at some point, but you know, I think a lot of people think the story of this world is a certain way, and, you know, there may be some truth in what they think about this, but I'm telling you right now, if people really could comprehend what's happened on this planet, even just since, you know, what was it, 4004 BC is when I've traced it back to. I actually have traced it back further than that in one. And I just think if people really had more of a view, but that's, you know, there's a reason why people get distracted. And we all can go and look into this stuff, but in order to do it, you got to give up your time. You got to give up going out and doing a bunch of other things that you'd be doing with your time, and not everybody wants to do that. King of Ur. King of Babylon. King of Babylon. Nimrod. I don't know what some of these names mean, so, like, I know that there's been a few that I've looked up and been like, oh, it's that person. Like Caesar's sister. I didn't know who that was, but Caesar's sister is in one of them. So Caesar's sister is in one of my ancestral lines, and I found that in the last 3 days or so. Another king of Babylon. Queen of Assyria. The first queen of Assyria. Patriarch. Another thing is that often when it gets to Adam and Eve, which I've had happen many times, it describes them as, you know, having to do with the Elohim. That's where the word elite comes from, and our rulers are not Elohim. Okay? They're not. Our self-proclaimed human rulers are not Elohim. They're just not those beings. That's not what they are. So, I'll save you the rest of the rant. It's really helpful to be able to do it this way because you can just really document it from beginning to end. Seventh Patriarch of Zion. I mean, this is stuff you don't even think about. King of Zion. Okay, I think we're getting about to the end here. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're almost there at the beginning. It's actually not the end, it's the beginning. There we go. Adam ben Elohim. Eve Bat Elohim. I don't know how you say it. Anyways, there's not usually anything past here. Sometimes somebody puts Heavenly Father. But at any rate, the Elohim, that's where the word elite comes from. That is not the people running this planet right now. Period. At any rate, we've just traced it back to 4004 BC. Direct lineage. There you have it. So I'm going to do another video in a little bit. Thank you for watching.